Hello guys, David Vose again. It's a beautiful day. It's getting warm. But I looked on the app and it's supposed to be blowing windy again next 2-3 days after today. So we're back to the wind again. I don't really like the wind, but hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm having a wonderful day. I'm excited about this video because I'm going to show you just a clip at the beginning where I had already showed you this 3 years ago, but a lot of you haven't seen it, and I want you to see it. And I'm going to show you, we're going to go back today and see what it looks like. After 3 years, I'm going to go on to Google Earth, and we're going to go to the spot that I'm going to show you here, and a few other spots. And we're going to see something that's going to literally blow your mind. Some of you will just think, well, it's just an anomaly or something. But, friends, it don't look like an anomaly to me. And I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like some kind of crazy, evil-looking empire mothership. Like the mothership of the Klingons or something. And we can show you that it's parked off the coast of Taiwan at the bottom of the sea. And it's spinning around almost like the way the Bible describes in Genesis chapter 3 or whatever, where Yahweh puts the cherubim with their swords spinning every which way or whatever it says. So to guard the way to the tree of life, like spinning swords, like the watchers, standing with their swords. And they're like going back and flashing around and stuff. It's crazy, like almost like a portal that you could just go right on into the other dimension that they're talking about right off the coast of Taiwan. And we're going to show you the docking stations that are under the sea off the coast of California. And the largest megacity under the ocean. Yeah, you heard that right. There is a mega city under the ocean, and mega doesn't do it justice. The city's about 100 miles long. The walls are a mile high, and the corridors are about 5-6 miles wide. Wide enough to fly aircraft through. So we'll show you that. But let's get right to it. And I'm going to show you that clip I did 3 years ago. You guys, have you heard about all the UFOs that they've been seeing from this area down here? It's just UFO after UFO. And it seems that most of them are being seen from this area down in Ventura area, Oxnard. Well, people are saying it might have something to do with this Point Mugu Naval Air Station. This is a really big military base. And people think that maybe it has something to do with it. So, now, I didn't find this myself. I remember seeing this a while back, but I'd forgotten about it. So, somebody else had found this. But take a look at what they found out here in the water. Woo, look at that. Now, look at how there's a, right where it says the Point Mugu Naval Base, there's like a canyon that comes down through here. Okay, and then it comes right to this huge, at first you think, well, it's a big landing pad under the water. Remember how William Cooper, back in the 70s, he did a lot of videos on YouTube and stuff. He ended up being disappeared because he had some classified information. He wouldn't be quiet. Well, he saw these ships, these saucers or these round disc-shaped UFOs coming into the atmosphere, doing a flip, and then the water opening up and they'd go under the water. So this has been something that people have been talking about. These UFOs have bases under the sea or something. So I thought, man, maybe that's a big landing pad. Well, guess what we got here? This could be some sort of opening. Now, it looks like pillars, people are saying. Others are saying, nah, that's not pillars. They're not uniform. Well, I don't know. It might be a little bit of an optical illusion. We're under the water, too. And it depends on what angle you're looking at as to whether or not those look very straight or whatever. They look pretty straight to me. But take a look at this. Because you might be thinking, well, that doesn't look big enough for a big old UFO to get in there. But it sure does look odd, doesn't it? Well, let me show you something here. This thing is way bigger than you might think. 2.5 miles across. 2.5 miles across, guys. That's crazy. Now, take a look at this. These pillars right here. It's over 1/2 mile across between those two pillars. So yes, something very large. 1/2 mile is pretty big. If you saw a UFO that was 1/2 mile across, hovering over the city, that's a pretty darn big UFO. So that is actually big enough that you could get something in there. So people are saying maybe this is some kind of a port or a portal that you can go in and then go right straight into this. Maybe there's passageways, or they park the ship there and they can walk to the military base, or maybe there's tunnels that go underground to the naval base. People are speculating. Well, if this really is some kind of a UFO thingy-majingy. By the way, look at that. Looks like an arrow right there. But if this is some sort of a entrance for UFOs under the sea, I thought maybe I could find a picture of a UFO under the sea or something. The first thing I did was I went up this little valley, and right about there I noticed this weird area that looks like it's blurred out. You know, when they don't want you to see something, they just kind of paint over it. And for some reason, that spot is blurred out. So I thought that was odd, because this whole little valley comes right out at the Point Mugu Naval Air Force Base. So then I got a little more encouraged, and I thought, what else can I find here? So I was looking around, and I won't spare you all the details, but I was looking around for a while underneath here, seeing if I could find anything. And I went up here where it says Fresno. That's about where it was. And where was it? Right here. And I saw this thing. And I thought, well, that looks pretty round. Maybe that is a parked saucer. Even with a smiley face on it. I know, guys, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? So I looked around a little bit more. Saw some pretty weird things down here. I don't know what those little things are. I saw this one. Kind of weird, huh? But then, something else took my attention here. What are these? They're very, very uniform. There seems to be a bunch of them. And it's almost as if, you know, it's just crazy. They all look exactly the same. Is that natural, do you think? Hey, I'm just showing you the pictures, guys. I don't know what this is. But to top it off, right here, take a look at that. What in the diggity dang dong is that? Oh my God. That is so weird to me. I mean, that can't just be some natural phenomenon, can it? Can it? That's just crazy. This is crazy. And you know, I know there's a lot of things at the bottom of the ocean and stuff like that that look interesting, and they're just natural, you know, formations and all of that, and maybe they are. I'm just showing you, right near a huge 3-mile roofed with pillars, you know, right at the base of an Air Force or Naval Air Force base. And you go up a little further and you see all these weird things. I don't know, guys. But wait till you get a load of this. Now, yesterday, remember we did that video where we went to the Antarctic and we showed the Air Force or the airstrips, the big military bases down there that they're trying to hide down there in Antarctica. And we showed how that is in the area of Australia. And we went up to Australia and we looked around and we said there's probably somehow or another they're connected to the Australian government there. All right, so here in America, we see an Air Force base or a naval base here, and we see this. Take a look at this. This is off the coast of our country, but look at what we got over here in Australia. And remember we said that their special op forces, I think it's Halsworthy or whatever it's called, is in New South Wales. And so take a look at this right here. Let me find it. Okay, take a look at this thing. Yeah. Kind of looks like maybe the same kind of thing with it's not very clear. You can't see it very well. And again, you think, well, that's not very big. I don't know. You couldn't get military or you couldn't get any UFOs in there. What is that? That's just a lump of dirt, right? Let me show you something. This is like 6-7 miles across, 8 miles across or something. And so these pillars are literally huge, and these may very well be openings underground, but we're not done. Take a look at this. Back out a little bit, and it's exactly the same thing we saw over there. We've got this weird, absolutely straight. Now it looks like there's a bunch of lines. Well, another thing too is right where this thing is, there's also a big, huge canyon that leads up to the shore here, just like over there. But you back out a little bit and look at this. There's all these lines going across. I don't know if they're pipelines or whatever. But this is absolutely straight. I don't know how this could be a natural phenomenon. It goes all the way along the length in a perfect straight line. There are weird things here. Oh, and look at that thing. I don't know what that is. That's probably just an anomaly in the picture. But we can't see these things very well, but they look odd. There's a lot of little things like that along here. I don't know, that thing's still laying down there. I don't know what that line is there. Kind of like we saw over there. But what is this? These are pipelines. And if that big thing that we just measured is 8 miles, then how big are these things? I mean, let's see. How wide is this across here? This is like 6 miles across. So this thing here could be half a mile wide. This, what looks to be like pipe, could literally be tunnels going from under the sea. It's almost as if there's something underground. They've got these little places where they let air. I think I might have been thinking of vents there. So, guys, now this is in present time. You just watched that clip, and that was like over 4 years ago or something. So today I thought I'd go back and take a little look, see what's been going on since we left. So here's the area. There's Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo. We go on down here to, let's see, where is it? Ventura, Oxford. And here's where we were before. This is what we were looking at before. If you get out where it's blurry, you can see it's the same spot. But if you try to go in on it, we're at 100% zoomed in now. I mean, it's loaded 100%. Well, now it's 95%, but it'll be 100% here in a second again. And you notice they've now blurred out the entire area. You cannot see it anymore. Now, you say, I wonder when they did that. Well, if you look at, it says 2025. So this has been done recently. I don't know if they did it right after I exposed it, and then again in 2025 they did some more, or whether this is just recent. So that's all been blurred out, and I've looked at it real carefully and made sure, because sometimes it keeps loading and something will all of a sudden clear up again. But I've let it load several times, and that's not going to load. That is purposefully blurred out. Remember Immaculate Constellation, which is supposed to be about them blurring out everything they don't want you to see in the sky? I think they're also blurring out everything they don't want you to see in the ocean. The activity going on down there. So let's go back over there where we were looking. I want to show you this crazy stuff. See, there's a lot of stuff that's being blurred out now. See that whole section? And it's interesting that this whole section's blurred out, because look at what's in this little section. This is up by Montecito, and where is this? Santa Barbara. All right, now this may not be unusual or anything else. Somebody may know what this is. Some swimming pools in the ocean for the elite, or some radar fields, or I don't know what these things are. But that is a perfect circle with a white spot in the middle. These are oblong things with, that one's got 4 white spots, and this one's got 3. Those are not natural, but of course they're not natural. And the whole thing's blurred over, so you can't really see what it is. Up here, yeah, it could be anything. I mean, there's some odd things poking out, but this could just be, obviously, if you notice, the shallow water is greener, bluer. Okay, so this is shallow water. That's, well, like shallow water too, but so maybe there's something raised underground, a huge building or something with little thingies on top, but just below the surface of the water, and so it's going to be not as deep, and so it's going to look that green color. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's interesting. Now, if we go up here to where I was showing you before, and there's more of these circles. It's possible that these were made, that they literally have a big hole there. You know, like there's something like a chimney coming up closer to the surface where ships can go in through a shallow area in the water and then enter in through these holes and go into tunnels. I don't know, that's just an idea that I have, but I don't know if that's correct. There's something. So I don't know what they're doing with these circles. They were not there when we were there 4 or 5 years ago. And look at all this. Look at all this. Let that load. You can't get that to load either. That's all blurred out. But I don't think that's natural either. It's something underground, and they're just, it's straight line. So you can't get any clear pictures. It, you know, above, if you look down, it looks very odd. But we go up here to where, let's see, Fresno. We go off the coast of Fresno. And we go over here to this. This is where we were last time, looking at that little weird thing and this line here with these little circles. They're still there. But now off to the left, that thing's turned around the other way, and it's like a big tube or something there. So looks like a remember we said these things, they don't look very big, but it's probably, I don't know how, let's see. So it's 1.5 miles across. It's 1.5 miles across, and it's absolutely straight, and it's got vents. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely certain that that is man-made. Those are, I mean, you could call them tunnels. We don't know what they are, but it's obviously a straight manufactured line underground, so there's tunnels. And of course, there's sand down there in the ocean. So after they build these buildings, the sand goes over them. And so it makes some of the, you know, the sand drifts over the top, and you don't, that's what you see. So there's a lot of these lines, these strange lines that are very straight under the ocean. Lots and lots of them. And they couldn't possibly be natural. There's no possible way. And all of these things seem to be vents. So what this thing is, we don't know. But if we follow it to the line all the way to the coast, it goes to San Luis Obispo, Santa Maria, or Morro Bay, or wherever it's going in that direction. It just kind of goes right under as the plate of the continent rises, it just goes right in. Now, where does this strange line go? We keep going. Oh, here it is. Yeah, there seems to be like, it goes to here and then it kind of zigzags over here. And we've got this big line. And this keeps going. And there's other lines going over there too. All of them go, everyone goes to Carmel Valley, Monterey. But these lines, if you follow them, where do they all go? They're all kind of going towards, and then they'll intersect. It's crazy. I don't know why they do that. But now, which one are we following? Okay, get back and look. You see all these straight lines. The most of them seem to be going down to this big one. A big, like highway, freeway, interstate for the tunnels. And they're all kind of going to this direction and coming out to what is that? What in the world is this? Honolulu? Is that what we've got here? Little islands, which is basically Honolulu. There's a lot of these lines. Now, I don't know that all these lines are tunnels. I don't know that they're all pipe. A lot of this is seismographic upheavals and cracks in the earth, obviously. But that is definitely not just a crack in the earth. It's exactly like the other ones we were seeing. Underneath, they seem to have a whole system of these things going over to the coast, you know? A lot of them go to San Diego area. And this big, huge trench here, I mean, good grief. I don't know what the heck that is, but it seems to be going over here to Eureka. We found it. Right? Yeah, there's even a crease right through it, right through Eureka, where the map changes. I don't know. All I'm saying is we got some major stuff going on here. What's going on down here? But yeah, that's a major line. And I'm not necessarily talking about that ridge line. That's probably a mountain. But these straight lines that we have here, that seems to be some kind of a straight roadway, that we can see these lines, these straight lines, cables, or, you know, they're much bigger than cables, and they're all crisscrossing and stuff. You know? Roads of some kind. But that seems to be a major line. There seems to be other major lines, and all of them seem to have roads. And they're not just geological lines, natural. But let's go back to Honolulu. I want to show you something. And we'll take this line right here, which seems to be a pretty good thoroughfare, freeway, and follow it. And it comes out in this direction here to Costa Rica. This is what we showed you, I don't know, several years ago. There it is. We have this massive sort of interlocking place, which seems to be a right angle that is so clearly a right angle that it could not be natural. You see, on the bottom side is a right angle, but on the top side is a straight line going in order to make it a triangle. And through the triangle, there seems to be various, what looks like passageways, but if you measure them, see what I'm saying here? If you measure these things, each of these little, that's 5 miles across. And the whole thing seems to be about 80, 90 miles across, you know? That's pretty huge edifice. And not only that, but even the height of these walls, if we start here and we go straight up to the top of this, whatever it is, it's a mile high. So whatever this is, the walls are a mile high under the water. It's almost 100 miles long. It almost looks like an Illuminati symbol, like compass and square. But these major roadways are coming through and going over to Costa Rica. And some of them might be going this way to the Panama Canal. Now, we've traced this 4 or 5 years ago. I did all this where I traced all these lines. But there's absolutely no question in my mind that this may be the major city, underground city, that all of these tunnels link to. And they're big enough not just to have, tunnels where you could drive a car, but they're big enough that you could probably fly aircraft. Like you wouldn't have to. Then maybe they have wheels and they could just pull out their wheels and drive these aircraft. But I think they might even these tunnels might be like a mile by a mile by a mile wide. You could fly aircraft around. These guys, whoever these people are, remember the Bible talks about certain ones that were sent to prison under the earth, the bottomless pit. It's going to be opened up. Well, maybe it is opening up. Maybe there have been humans that have been living down there for thousands of years. And this is one of their cities. Now, it looks a little bit, you say, well, that's one of their cities. It looks dilapidated. No, it's under the sand. The sand's shifting all the time and so forth. And making, it's not going to be clean in all, like, for instance, right here, the sand is kind of blown or drifted over. But all the way along, you see these vents. They have to have air, I guess, or something. I don't know. There's vents, maybe to let the air that they're using down there out or something. It's a strange little face they got going on here. I mean, can you imagine how deep this whole thing is here? It's like, this is like a crater right here that's like a mile and a half wide and 3 or 4 miles wide. A big impression. So I don't know what that is, but I don't believe that's natural, friends. And leading to this are these huge roadways that we saw before. We can just follow, they always go somewhere. This one goes to Puerto Ayora and Villamil. I never heard of this island. Not a vacation spot. And then areas like this, I mean, it's just crisscross everywhere. That's not natural. These are tunnels or something. A huge one going right here. See where this one goes. Kind of goes over here, and then we got another kind of a dark area, and then it takes off this way, and there's kind of a hub here, and seems like this line goes to this Hangaroa. Follow this line. Well, I guess it's going over here, South America. Santiago's got a bunch of lines connecting Santiago. There's a few lines going to the Ecuador, and yeah, it's some of these lines over here going to Charlottesville, Jacksonville. But take a look around New York. A few years ago when we were doing this, I was looking at this area, and I was noticing all these lines. And I was noticing that this all goes over here. There's a big base up there too, a military base. And it seems to be going near the Bermuda Triangle as well. A lot of these roads intersect around here, or these lines or whatever they are. They seem to intersect, near the Bermuda Triangle. Maybe they talk about ships that disappear or whatever. There's the X marks the spot. But we go out, and it's right up here above these little islands, and you see so many of them here. Obvious man-made lines, like 5-6 miles across. Somebody would say, well, it's just the way they put the grid together when they're making the picture. It's all pieced together. But this is not that. This is clearly man-made lines crisscrossing the entire ocean. And what's that, You say, it's a mountain, Dave. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. But I want to go over to Taiwan. That's the last thing we'll probably look at today. And before I show you what I wanted to show you, I want to take you back 3 years ago when I showed you this the first time, because we saw something very interesting off the coast of Taiwan. Take a look at this. So I was looking around China, and I thought, well, maybe I'll look at Taiwan. That would probably be an interesting place to look. So I looked around down here under the sea and found something very interesting. Aside from the fact that looks like a man's face, but take a real close look at what is parked back in there. I have no idea what that is, but it looks weird and it's kind of wiggling. And when you get a side view of it, it might even be weirder. So I can get a view of this to where you can actually see it. It's like there are lights on or something. They flicker. But sometimes it gets real dark and you can't quite see. There you go. It looks like a big jetliner or a crystal, a vibrating crystal. But it's pretty weird. There's obviously something there. That could definitely be some kind of a landing pad. And since there's little lights that keep flickering in these two and in these two, which almost look like the eyes of some sort of a face. See what I'm saying? Those must be 4 craft. 2 that represent the eyes here and the other 2 back in here. And so there are craft, I believe, right there parked in a basin area underneath Taiwan. So that was what I showed you 3 years ago. It's even crazier now. But before I show you what craziness is going on down there now, some kind of portal to I don't know where, off the coast of Taiwan. It's like this diamond crystal energy vortex portal. While looking for this today, I came across some other information that I did not know. And I'll bet you that none of you know it either. There might be somebody that would know this, but if so, I think you better tell somebody else because it don't seem like anybody else knows. I found another big hoax. The military contentions that's going on in Taiwan there with China and the United States is a hoax. Now, let me show you the evidence for that. This will blow your mind. You hear about all this talk about how we control Taiwan off the coast of China. And Chinese are just all upset about it. They're just so upset because, that's an island off the coast of China. And here the United States supposedly has all these military bases there. And it's like we control it and so forth. We have some kind of treaty or whatever. But I was fumbling around here and I was looking for the military base in Taiwan. And all of them were Chinese or Taiwanian. They're not United States Air Force bases. They weren't United States military bases. So I looked it up. Does the United States have military bases in Taiwan? And AI says no, the U.S. does not have any military bases in Taiwan. Official relations in 1979. The United States officially recognized the People's Republic of China, Beijing, and severed official ties with Taiwan in 1979. The treaty is a defense treaty. Along with severing official relations, the U.S. also terminated its defense treaty with Taiwan. Huh? So what's all the scuttlebuttle, Supposedly, China's all upset, that we've got military bases there, but we don't have them there. Maybe that's what they tell us. At least they insinuate it. And we're all assuming. And that's why China's not so upset, because they really don't have it. It's just a psyop for the American people or the Europe or whatever. But over in China, they probably tell their people, oh no, they don't have any military. And it's true. But then we do have a Taiwan Relations Act. The U.S. relationship with Taiwan is currently governed by the Taiwan Relations Act, which allows the U.S. to provide Taiwan with defensive weapons, but doesn't obligate the U.S. to defend Taiwan in case of attack. So we're giving Taiwan weapons, but we don't own the country or have any military bases. We just drop weapons off in Taiwan, and who gets it? Well, probably China. Maybe that's our little secret, covert way that we provide China with all these nuclear weapons and little rocket man. We're just dropping off weapons all over the world. Or, I don't know, maybe they're made, a lot of the weapons are made and parts are made in China. That's probably why we have computer chips and parts and stuff made in China, and some of it made in Japan, and some of them in the United States or Mexico. It's all one big deal, and it's all a big HOAX, a hoax. It's important to note that training, the U.S. maintains a small number of military personnel in Taiwan for training purposes. Arms sales. The U.S. is Taiwan's largest arms supplier, and Taiwan has a significant backlog of arms purchases from the U.S. But if we don't control the country, who's getting all the arms? This is what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. I asked just if there's military bases there originally, forgetting to put United States, U.S. military. Just, is there military bases? And they said yes. Several military bases, air bases, Navy bases, Army bases. But these air bases include Che Air Base, Ching Chong Cheng, and all this. These are the Republic of China Air Force. So the Republic of China has all these military bases in Taiwan. We don't have any. But all we do is drop off weapons there. Are you kidding me? What is going on? Look at all these bases. They're all Chinese. And another thing that I thought of while I was looking at this. We always say, oh, over there in China. Oh, China, right? But it's the Republic of China. And then we say, oh, the United States isn't a democracy. We're a republic. The republic for which it stands. You pledge your allegiance for the republic. Well, we say, oh, well, but China's communist. Okay. But they're a republic. So what diggity dang dong good is it to have a republic? If a republic is no special thing, it could be communism, it could be capitalism, it could be socialism, but it's a republic after all. So, I don't know. Plato's Republic, I think he's got his little republics in every part of the world, and they're all playing us. Communist, socialist, capitalist, it's all the same. There's billionaires in China, there's billionaires in the United States, there's billionaires in Moscow, or in Russia, and there's also law and order, martial law in all three countries. There's police on the streets, the same courts and the same black robes and the same prisons and the same military and the same propaganda religions. I mean, you can join Buddhism here in America. You can be a Christian over there. There's slight differences based on culture, but it's the same republic, Plato's Republic, that's running it all, friends. And I want to throw another point in there. So a lot of you are Trumpers, right? You love Trump, and you say, well, maybe he'll do some good and make America great again, and he's sure strong, and he's a good negotiator, and we like him, and he's getting rid of the transgenders, and he's, his law and order, and it's all going to be wonderful, lowering the taxes, by golly. But if we're living in a maze, or as the movie says, the Matrix, and it's just a delusion and a hoax, and we're trying to figure our way out of this, but most people are mentally stuck in this realm. But a lot of you will acknowledge that, the craziness all around the world. And I think most of you would acknowledge that we all have the black robes and the judges and the martial law police on the streets, the same republics and ideas. Then if Trump becomes president and does achieve whatever it is you want him to achieve, and he doesn't know that we're in a matrix, he doesn't realize that the Chinese were ruled and incorporated and built up by the same billionaires. He's one of the billionaires. If you think he don't know that these billionaires that are all his buddies that put him in power, they don't have control over China, Japan, Russia, United States, Mexico, that it's already been done. You don't think they got underground cities and parties down there? The movie Eyes Wide Shut, I think it was. I think it was Tom Cruise that starred in that movie. But that movie, just like other movies, like The Matrix or any other movie you would want to go back and look at, is trying to tell us something. The elite, they have these masquerade ball parties or whatever. Now, there's probably even bigger parties where the top elite go. But in some of these places where the elite go, sometimes they have parties where you're not supposed to know who that person is, because they're all going to do some shenanigans, and you don't want to have anybody film you or know who you are or whatever, so you go with a mask. And then at the party with this mask on, you can do whatever you want and get away with it, and nobody's going to say, oh, I can identify this person was at the party, perhaps, or something. But the elite know what's going on that are at the top, the billionaires. And they go to parties and they don't even need a mask. I mean, look at the Bohemian Grove. If you want to know some of the stuff that goes on there, gay parties and everything else with these senators and stuff. And evidently, they sacrifice a human being at this party, at the Bohemian Grove. If not, it's just a mock sacrifice. But either way, they're doing some stuff. And if Trump doesn't know about this, then I guarantee they're only using him for their own advantage. And when they're done with him, bam. They may be the same way they used Hitler guy in Germany. Perhaps he didn't know what was going on either. Perhaps Putin doesn't know. But come on, Putin is head of the KGB. Trump is the head of the CIA. He's the head of all the secret organizations, and he's got access to everything, or he's not the president of the United States. And if there's ever been a president that knows what's going on, it's Trump. And if he knows, then he knows that it's a psyop. And he knows about these underground cities. And he knows what they're doing. And he knows what these shiny little UAPs that are flying around are, and these discs. And he ain't telling us. Now, what kind of a man would you follow as your leader if all these shenanigans and lies is going on? If there was an illusion for you, but in reality, you're told China and the United States might go to war over Taiwan, when in reality, we don't have any U.S. bases there. We don't have any military there. And everybody, no matter what country, is subject to the law, which is run out of London. That whole system of law and order was created by the Templars that were then infiltrated by the Illuminati, and they built a huge edifice and temples, and the church covers a lot of London downtown. This is the system, the law system that runs China, Russia, and the United States. All of the black robes all have the same rules and everything. Yeah, they have different constitutions, but it's interesting that all of their constitutions are based upon the law and order. And all of them, all the countries, are under the same financial system where you pay with some token. There's banks, and the banks have to cooperate. It's the banks and this judging law system, the legal system, that runs every country equally, exactly the same. They can be charged at the UN, and they all go to the UN and sit around in a circle. And not only that, they're all listening to the same propaganda. Hollywood puts out these movies, and they send these movies to all corners of the world, dub them in if they got to. Hollywood might have proxy movie making places, like in India with, I think they've got their own little Bollywood or something. But I bet, since you can just tell it's really run by Hollywood because it's called Bollywood or something. I don't remember what it's called. But every country in the world is being bombarded by the exact same propaganda. When Trump went to the big meeting with Saudi Arabian people, and everybody came, and they all got up on the stage like it was the Grammys or something, and they all kind of curtsied and bowed to Trump. The whole world is watching Trump because he's the leader of the entire world, right? Or Putin. They look up to him. But these individuals run the world, and they're running the world by some kind of law and order that's being run by someone. And I guarantee these people that run the world have a lot bigger network, and something's going on that we're not privy to, and it's under the ocean. They claim right now, they're disclosing this idea that these beings have been here, they've been ruling over us all this time, and they're just kind of slowly disclosing this to us. But who are these beings? They're humans. Humans that have their cities and a whole different society and culture, or elite culture that lives underground. And they have their little puppets that run the top side. But I think that Trump and Putin and these guys, and many of the people in Hollywood, are able to have a secret pass to these gatherings that they know about what's going on down. If you look at somebody like J-Lo, she wasn't part of it, right? She was just the kid from the J-Lo from the block, right? Somehow or another, she married into the elite bloodline, or she was secretly a child of one of the Rothschilds or something. I don't know. But now she's one of the elite. If you notice, she comes out of the ball and she's got these dress and she's, standing there like she's some kind of royalty, and she's got people, picking up her dress behind her so it doesn't get dirty. She's royalty. You've got the Kardashians that are royalty now. Why? Because they're giving them a ticket. They're all flashing the pyramid, the Illuminati signs, because they know, but you don't. They're planning on ending the society, depopulating the whole world. They're going to go underground. And you got to get a ticket. You got to follow them and sell your soul to them, and maybe they'll let you go down underground. And you're under oath never to speak about it, I guarantee. You take a look at people like Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise, and it seems like they know something. J-Lo and even Whoopi Goldberg. Why is her name Goldberg? Well, she married into the people with the money to get a seat, to get a ticket, to survive the coming plan. I guarantee it. But they allow us to have 4 or 5 guys over there, in a small group of military, somewhere in a little house somewhere on one of their military bases. Just probably like what's going on in Cuba. We're told over here that Russia owns Cuba, or the communists somehow. But yet we've got a Guantanamo Bay, a military base there. So who's got the military bases in Cuba? Us. Not the communists. So the idea that Cuba was a communist guy or whatever is probably just false. He's just kind of like the rocket man, the little rocket man over there in North Korea. We prop up this Cuban leader and the communist Cuba, and we control the island and all the military there, but we allow them to have this appearance that there's a communist state there. We let them starve. We denigrate them. We put sanctions on them. We let them run the finances of this decrepitated Havana. But the area itself is run by the United States military. So, when I think about this, it boggles my mind, the insanity, the hoax that's going on here. China controls their islands off their coast. We control our islands. But we pretend that communist Russia is over there controlling it. And they pretend that we're running it. And they pretend and we pretend that we're about to go to war over it. Remember the Bay of Pigs or whatever with Kennedy and all stuff? I don't think that anything we've been told has any bearing on any truth. And 9/11 wasn't perpetrated by the Afghanistan terrorists, which, by the way, the Taliban and ISIS was created by us anyway. We created the Taliban. So if the Taliban was running Afghanistan and bombing us, then it was basically just our CIA with this proxy terrorist group bombing ourselves. And that's exactly what happened. It's just a big hoax, everything. I wouldn't be surprised then if the military in China is run by the shadow government, just like our military, and that the presidents here and there are all just puppets. The United States doesn't run the United States. China doesn't run China. Russia doesn't run Russia. But Putin, Trump, and ching ching and wing a wing, they're all just puppets put in by BlackRock or something. Mr. Finkelstein probably runs the world, as we know, around the round table. And they set up all these illusions and all these hoaxes everywhere. and pretend that there's a little rocket man about to get us, or a Cuban leader with a cigar in his mouth going, all right, we're going to sit right here until you guys acknowledge that, you can't do anything about it. Ha 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 ha. We're spying on you. I don't think so. So that's crazy. So I went back to Taiwan now. Manila, Philippines. This here is Taiwan right here. So I went back to Taiwan, and I went to this place that we had been looking at to see if anything had changed. And nothing's changed. It's still there. And there's those weird lights shining again still. I understand it's probably some other anomaly, but what kind of an anomaly looks like that? Look at that. Just a quivering. Looks like a energy pulsating diamond or something. What the living tarnations is that? Anybody tell me what that is? Like, what is that? Are you serious? It's like it's building power since we were there last time. Like when we were there 3 years ago, it wasn't that energized or whatever it is. It's just crazy. Like it's where they park their mothership or something off the coast of Taiwan. And it's still flashing over here. These other ones are out. The two eyes over there in this area. I'm trying to get where the two eyes are that used to flash there too, but isn't that crazy, friends? What's this? Oh, just something. But this is just bizarre. Bizarre, bizarre, bizarre. Let's go into the vortex and see what happens. Ooh. Ah. That is so crazy. Anywho, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. We're over an hour. Let me know what you guys think about that. And hope you have a wonderful evening. The Lord will bless you. He loves you all. He loves everybody on this earth. Get the word out. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Have a good one.